Game of the year. I don't know how else to put it, Nick, but the Blue Jays, I didn't think they were going to do it. I thought that was it. We were both downing it when they gave up that 3-1 lead to the Baltimore Orioles, but they ended up coming out victorious. What an amazing victory. Brandon Belt with a huge home run. Dalton Varsho's bat is starting to come around. The whole team looks to have some life injected into them for this stretch run. This is a huge series against the Baltimore Orioles, and they started off on the right foot with that victory in extra innings. I mean, a lot of the bullpen arms are used, a lot of stress, big time stress moments, but who cares? They came out with a win. They got Kevin Gausman on the mound tomorrow. This was the game of the year for the Toronto Blue Jays, and they came out victorious.
Yeah, they needed to, Peter, we were talking about it. Felt like a playoff game. John Schneider, pulled Kikuchi early and put in Jimmy Garcia there. And we beat the Orioles in game one. Huge momentum going into game two with Kevin Gausman on the hill. But, Peter, it's been a wild night. What's up, everybody in here? We decided to go live. We haven't went live in a while since the trade deadline, and we'll be going live for some post games now as some bigger games, more and more games are going on, but I don't know. It's what a crazy game.
This was huge, man, and I haven't been this fired up for a regular season game since last year. I mean, this was probably the biggest game of the year. A lot of games have been very important this season for the Toronto Blue Jays, but once you get into this stretch run with 30, 35 games remaining in the regular season, every inning, every pitch, every game just matters so much more. And this was against the team that has owned us this year. I mean, let's just call it what it is. The Baltimore Orioles have ran the Toronto Blue Jays out of the gym every single time that they've played them. And the Jays, I mean, they put their big boy pants on today and they managed to win. This was the biggest game of the year, and the team showed some playoff toughness, some playoff grit, and it just gives you some confidence going forward. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We never know with this team. But this is a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, I know a lot of you in here and us as well. We're shocked. We beat Baltimore Orioles. We beat an AL East rival in a very clutch game with Yuta Kikuchi getting the start. What's up, Rick? What's up, everyone in here? No shot won a game against Baltimore. Yeah, it's we'll go through all the game. We'll go I have the box score we can pull up as well. We can go through some of the key plays of the game, and Bo Bichette's play is one that definitely comes to mind, and we'll just break it all down for a little short stream here on this great Tuesday night to where the Jays needed to win this game. Because, Peter, Mariners going to win tonight, or at least it looks like it. And it looks like the Astros are also going to pull the victory over the Boston Red Sox. And we discussed this off stream. Again, we're a game behind Mariners, virtually 2 games. You discussed it on your radio show that Houston Astros are kind of the team to go for, especially because we have the tiebreaker. But just if we take care of our own business, teams are going to end up playing each other. I think the Astros are end up playing the Rangers, or the Seattle are going to play the Rangers. We can catch them. If we take care of business, we have a soft schedule coming up. We can pretty realistically sneak into the wild card spot here.
Now let's look at the Toronto Blue Jays upcoming games. Now that this might take me a while to pull up, but obviously you got the next 2 against the Baltimore Orioles. And then after that, the schedule, if I'm not mistaken, really starts to lighten up for this Blue Jays team. Now,
go ahead and check that. I'll just chat here.
Let me fact check that.
Yeah.
You
the
keep
Jays
the chat
the
entertained here, but. Yeah. But you said it, Nick. You touched on it. And the most important thing for this Blue Jay team is to go ahead and take care of business. You can't worry about what the other teams are doing. I think that's been a big mistake that the Blue Jays have done this entire year. I mean, look at when other teams had big-time losing streaks. The Jays had an opportunity to catch some ground, and they couldn't go ahead and do it. So, look, you got to take care of business. You got to worry about the games that are in front of you. And after this series, the next 3 series are Cleveland, Washington, and Kansas City, all at home. So you tell me, I think the Blue Jays are a lot better teams than those 3 that I just rattled off over there. And if I'm not mistaken, the next 15 games that you have after this Baltimore series is against pretty weak opponents. So you could say the same with the Mariners. You could say the same with the Astros. You can't worry about that. You got to take care of business. And if the Blue Jays get some momentum from this series, if they take 2 out of 3, or even if they sweep the Baltimore Orioles, I could easily see them going 12-3 against those teams because they got the monkey off their backs, and now they can go ahead and play freely knowing that they belong amongst those upper echelon teams.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very important. And it does suck that we're out of a playoff spot, that we missed a few, winnable games. We let the, Mariners 27-11 or something crazy since the All-Star break. Julio Rodriguez is, tearing the cover off the ball, but we're still in a decent spot. We need Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to heat up, and let's just get into the box score for today's game here. It was looking a bit, bad there for a little bit. Whit Merrifield went hitless. Brennan Belt hit the big home run to put them, in the extra innings, and then we got another run as well on a pass ball off of Vladdy double. Vladdy had a very good game, but it's still, he still has a ways to go to get to where we want him to be. But Peter, looking at the lineup now, even compared to where it was last series, just so much more of a deep lineup. You have Chapman in the 7-hole. You have Kevin Kiermaier back in the 9-hole. Kiermaier makes a world of defense in the defensive end, the base running end. You have Dalton Varsho starting to heat up. If you look there, you have Varsho 6, 7, 8, 9. They combined for 7 hits. The lineup's looking very, very deep right now, and this is a time where the Jays got healthy at a very, very good time. And if they can just go on a run here, like you said, take care of business against the bad teams, go 12-3, go whatever it is, even 10 whatever the math is, 10-5, just something to stick to winning for a sustained period of time instead of being up and down, up and down, up and down will be very, very good.
Yeah, now I stand corrected on the schedule, Nick, because I was wrong. So you got the next 2 against the Orioles, then you got the Guardians, Nationals, then September begins. And now this is where it really starts to lighten up. You got 3 against the Rockies, 3 against the Athletics, 3 against the Royals. So that's 15 games against teams that are below 500. And if you look at the end of the season, the end of season schedule for the Blue Jays, you see a lot of Rays and you see a lot of Yankees. Now, at the beginning of the year, I was petrified when I saw that. That scared the hell out of me, Nick, because going into you knew this would be a dogfight all year long in the AL East, and all those games against the Rays and the Yankees, it's bad news. But now the Yankees, they look beatable. And Aaron Judge, as good as he is, I think he's a legitimate candidate to be shut down because they're calling up a lot of young guys, are the New York Yankees. And the Tampa Bay Rays, they're as vulnerable as ever. Wander Franco is not there. He's not going to be there for the rest of the season. He's not going to be back. So you look at that, and all these games start to seem winnable, but you got to take care of the one that's in front of you. And tomorrow, you got your guy on the mound. You got Kevin Gausman, and he's the one that you want to rally behind. Go get him some runs. Go win that series tomorrow, then take care of the sweep the next day. But this Jays team is really starting to turn the corner, and that's all starting with their veterans and Kevin Kiermaier, Brandon Belt, all those guys, unsung heroes.
Yeah, and their approach looks better. For most of them, if not all of them. Varsho, they talked about in the broadcast, got rid of his leg kick, now he's gone to a toe tap. Everyone's starting to see the ball better. What's up, bro? So saying Rangers are losing again. Maybe they'll fall back. Rangers are in a bit of a free fall. The Rays, like you said, devastating news if you're a Rays fan with the Wander Franco situation. Not going to dive into the situation, but he's going to be done. That's their best player by a large, large margin, and he's done for the season. So that helps out the Blue Jays a lot in the sense of they're, even regular season, they're more winnable games now. Will we see this Blue Jays come to fruition? We sure hope so. Yankees have committed to playing the kids the rest of the season. I think I'd rather play those old vets they've been trotting out there. I think the Yankees have waved the white flag a little bit, and it's a good point. They might shut down Judge. They might, play him 3 times, 4 times a week. At the very least, that team is not the team that we thought they were going to be coming into the season. And the Orioles are the best team in the division right now, and we just beat them. So there's no reason why we can't go out there and beat those weak teams. But it's been a story of this all year. We should be beating these weak teams, and hopefully we can do it. But taking care of business this weekend, one of the Mariners or Astros needs to start losing at the end of the day. But they just need to lose one game, and then we can kind of control our own destiny. So it's a bit too early, I think, to be fully locked into the other teams when there's, 30-odd games remaining.
Right, but you look at the way that this pitching staff has performed all year long and the way that they're going right now, it just gives you hope going forward. Now, the offense, they got to keep going. They got to keep turning that corner and chipping away. They got to get some runs. They got to give some run support to these guys that have been pitching their butts off all year long. But look at the bullpen. Look what they did today. Apart from Jimmy Garcia, I see multiple shutdown innings over there. So what is that, 5? 5 shutdown innings in a row after Jimmy Garcia. And, Tim Meza, shout out to him. He came in the 9th. The Jays were allowed to preserve Jordan Romano for the 10th inning. That was a very savvy move by manager John Schneider. Now, We've given him a lot of flack all season long, but we got to give him his praise over here. I liked the Jimmy Garcia move personally. I know you didn't, Nick. It was a pretty split decision on Twitter, but I understand that move. It's a playoff type of move. You want to try to play the matchups, especially with the middle of the order. It just didn't work out. But then you have 5 straight shutout innings from your guys in the bullpen. Tim Meza really stepping up in that 9th inning against the meat of the order. I mean, what more can you ask for right there? You know, this bullpen has been doing whatever's been asked of them, and I've just been so impressed. Hopefully they can keep this going.
Yeah, the Jays have the best pitching in baseball. Before we get into that, make sure to like button. Shout out to the almost 100 of you in here at this late, work night, Tuesday night. We're going to be going live for more games, so shout out to each and every one of you, and we'll answer some questions as well shortly. But like you said, the Jimmy Garcia move, I didn't like it, but I understand it. It's not one I would get mad at John Schneider for. And the only reason why, I mean, Kikuchi was getting hit hard. He didn't have his great stuff, so I understand taking him out. It's probably the right move, but I just like giving him a chance just because of how good he's been since the All-Star break. But either way, that's a coin flip move. I'm not too mad about that. Let's talk about the other moves.
Right.
Trevor Richards dominant, Jordan Hicks dominant, Eric Swanson dominant. Love the Tim Meza move in the 9th there, the bottom of the 9th. And I was texting you about it beforehand, what we're going to do in the top of the 10th or the bottom of the 10th if it got to that point, because you need someone who can strike out. We already used our strikeout guys and Jordan Hicks, even Trevor Richards, Eric Swanson, have Genesis Cabrera there, but I love putting Tim Meza in. It's about time Tim Meza, gets an inning, a clean inning to himself. Seems like he's always inheriting runners, and his ERA is now probably close to below 1. It's probably like 1.01 or something like that, and he did the job. It was a bit scary. Shout out to Bo Bichette there, but the team's built for winning. Best way to put it, they're built for winning. Best starting 5 in baseball, arguably the best bullpen in baseball. The offense is slowly starting to heat up. Looking at this lineup and the bench that we have, this lineup is unbelievable if they play to their potential. And Dalton Varsho has obviously had a horrible offensive season to date, but now he's heating up really well. And it almost, the negative side of it was, or I guess the less optimistic side, imagine how good the Jays could have been if their offense even was half of what it should be coming into the season. They would have been probably a 100-win team if the offense would have been what they were kind of destined to be before the season. But they're heating up now, and it doesn't really matter if they heat up right now. We saw it with the Phillies a couple of years ago. They need to. It might be good for the Blue Jays, and this might be the time for a little Camden Yard sweep.
Hot once you're in there, and that's the message that we've been reiterating all season long. Now I want to focus on the positive, because earlier on in the year, this is maybe a game that the Blue Jays would have lost, and this is a game that they're equipped to win. They have the best bullpen in baseball. They have the best pitching
against
in
a very
baseball
good Baltimore
statistically
bullpen
this year. A very good Baltimore bullpen,
Not as
but
good, though.
the Blue Jays I think are better. They have a deeper bullpen, and that was on display. Mike Baumann came out in the 10th because they had no one else. Jordan Romano came out in the 10th, a guy who's 3rd in saves in the American League. So that's the discrepancy between those two teams. Now, the difference between the Jays and the Jays need to get to starters early, and they need to turn that game over to their bullpen, because that's a huge strength. Now, we talk about other teams' bullpens. Oh, you don't want to get into the 7th inning with a deficit, but the Jays are like that too, and you could almost say you don't want to get into the 5th inning with a deficit against the Jays, because that's how dominant those arms are down there, and they just got to keep this going. I'm super encouraged with this win. I was positive the entire time. Obviously, I was stressed. I know, Nick, you weren't as positive as I was throughout the game. We usually text each other every Jays game, but this was a result that they needed, and man, I'm just so happy. I'm really fired up after this one.
Yeah, this was a peak win, and looking at the bullpen again, which is really the highlight of the game, and we might actually have a video on it tomorrow, depending on how some things line up. But Trevor Richards, he has a sub-3 ERA. Jordan Hicks, what a pickup that was. He's obviously had his ups and downs throughout the season, especially on the trade front. But man, what a game for Jordan Hicks. And Peter, you said it. He's a guy who pumps 100 plus in there. If we didn't have a Jordan Hicks and we didn't make that trade at the deadline, you move everyone down. That makes the bottom of the 10th much more different. Now, it didn't matter as much because the Jays offense got on the board, but just the thought process behind it. Having one more high leverage guy, like we discussed before the trade deadline, is so important in games where your starter doesn't go more than 6 innings, because you would have Eric Swanson in the 7th, in theory, Tim Meza in the 8th, Romano in the 9th, Genesis Cabrera in the 10th, and Genesis Cabrera has been dominant, but being able to have a bullpen like this, and that also gives, that gave John Schneider confidence to take out Yusei Kikuchi when he wasn't struggling. And there's a good chance that if they left Kikuchi in, he could have given up more runs and made it a 4-3 game. And then they bring in Bautista and they would have shut him out because the game would have ended in 9 innings. There's tons of hypotheticals here, but the point is, bullpen absolutely dominant. Yusei Kikuchi, this kind of highlights his improvement this year too. In last year or other years, if he would have had a game like this, you're probably expecting 2 2/3 innings giving up 5 runs when his stuff's not very good versus 4 2/3 giving up 3 runs, keeping the Jays in the game. So huge win, absolutely amazing, and I don't know, I'm fired up, even though it's late.
I mean, just look at the bullpen last year, Nick. Jimmy Garcia was the setup man. He was the 8th inning guy. Now you have him coming in this year in the 5th inning to clean up a mess that the starting pitcher left. So that's the kind of depth that this bullpen has, and they're turning it over to those big-time arms. Now, I'm still okay with the move. I thought this was a playoff type of game. That was the way it was managed by John Schneider, and sometimes to his own doing, he makes the wrong moves. Like last year in the wild card game, you should have left Kevin Gausman in, but I think this was the right time to go ahead and pull Yusei Kikuchi. His stuff wasn't as sharp as it was in his previous starts, and you said he deserved to go out there and finish the inning, but you can't manage that way with 35 plus games left in the season. You got to manage with your gut. You got to make the right decision. And he made that decision quickly. It was a no-brainer for Schneider. Obviously, it didn't work out, but it didn't bite the Jays. And some of their top guys, Jordan Hicks only threw like 8 pitches. Eric Swanson was under 15. Jordan Romano, pretty stress-free inning. So all those guys are going to be available tomorrow. And the hope is that you won't need them because Kevin Gausman is out on the mound and he's probably going to go ahead and give you 7 innings because that's what Kevin Gausman does.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well with Gosse tomorrow. And you suspect that every single one of these guys who pitched, maybe aside from Tim Mesa, has the green light to go again tomorrow. And ideally, with Kevin Gausman, he goes 6 or 7 innings. You just have to use maybe Jordan Hicks, 2 of Jordan Hicks, Swanson, and Romano, and save another one for the next day for the sweep. So having a deep bullpen pays its dividends, and also winning blowout games like we did before yesterday's off day has also paid some dividends. The arms look absolutely fired up in a good way. Dan Shulman went on the broadcast today, and he said when announcing it, the off days did wonders for the Blue Jays. We've had, 3 off days now in the past 10 days or something crazy. There's been a lot more than usual.
About time.
It is about time, but it's been showing the pitching is going to be phenomenal. If we're going to win this year, it's going to be because of the pitching. Oscar saying it felt like a playoff game. Absolutely. We said this before
the whole way through.
You need to win. You need to win these games right now. If we even lose this game, or we would have lost, even a couple other games throughout the past week or so, we could have been more than, a game back, and then you start losing and you fall behind. And against this team, especially with the soft schedule coming up, this is going to be very, 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 very critical for the Blue Jays. Right. And again, shout out to Dalton Varsho. It's, even when he wasn't hitting at all, he still provided enough value to play 5 days out of the 7 games. But if he's hitting even league average or even a slightly above league average like the rest of his career has shown, he is one of the best players on the Blue Jays just because of his defense there. And a lot of those trade haters are, I don't know where they are.
It doesn't matter. They're back on the train now. And let's look at the matchup for tomorrow. It's Kevin Gausman against Jack Flaherty. Now, Flaherty has shut down the Blue Jays 2 times this year, once with the Cardinals and once with the Orioles. So it's not going to be an easy matchup for those hitters, but they are starting to swing it a little bit better today. So right now, I should say. So maybe they'll be able to time it up tomorrow. That's for Flaherty. But you got Kevin Gausman against Flaherty tomorrow, and you got Jose Barrios against Dylan Creamer.
Our best 3 pitchers, arguably.
Yeah, best 3 pitchers right now. And
yes?
I think Pawn Siri cut
you out, Peter. I don't know what you mean by. I think.
So
you're good.
You got your best 3 going up in this series, and you're not going to see Kyle Bradish for the Orioles. So that's good news. And I'm fired up, man. I really think they can take 2 out of 3 here. I think they can even go for the sweep. And the momentum is so critical going into these next 15 games after this. But obviously the Blue Jays are taking it one day at a time. It's great. And shout out to all 105 of you in here, by the way.
Huge shout out. Sorry, I just ended for the Siri interruption there, but at the end of the day, it's a great turnout. And again, we're going to definitely do more of these, especially for big wins like this. Game of the year. We'll probably have a video tomorrow covering it in some capacity. It won't be a direct game recap like this, but it'll definitely be covering it in some capacity. But I think that'll wrap it up, Peter. Any final thoughts on the game before we wrap it up? It's 12:15 in the morning here on a weeknight, so I'm gonna definitely hit the hay. But shout out Rick, Katie, everyone in here, Sam, Oscar, Diego, a lot of new names from our previous streams. So welcome. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. Flames for the Jays, and I don't know, Peter. It's gonna be a really stressful next 30 games, but I think I'm here
It
for
is. It is. But that's what we live for, man. This is why we follow baseball. This is why we pay attention to the 162 game grind. It's for stuff like this. And obviously we wish the Blue Jays were a little bit further ahead, and we wish they won a couple of those games that they let slip away earlier on in the season. But we're here right now, and we have no choice but to be along for the ride. So let's strap in and let's support this team with every ounce of energy that we have, because that's what it's going to take out of us in this stretch run. But it was a great game today, super entertaining, got me fired up, and I'm going to be the same way tomorrow. So go
Yeah,
Jays!
I think it's
And thanks
7 Eastern start tomorrow, right?
7:07 start tomorrow, and thanks to each and every one of you that took the time to tune in today. We're going to try to get more of these out for you guys, because we know that these games are super important.
Yeah, shout out Sawyer. And yeah, check out our video from today if you haven't already, and we'll have one tomorrow, probably at some point in the afternoon or early evening. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you everyone who tuned in. It's been phenomenal, and hopefully the Jays can maybe give us a less stressful win tomorrow. But take it easy and have a good evening.